everyone, it's Nicole and welcome to design number 47. Today we're talking about some tips for how you can make a page a little more masculine. So first thing I have here is some papers I've chosen from close to my heart. As you can see, it's a very masculine color palette that will obviously have a huge influence on your project. So will pattern. So you can see here I've chosen a notebook style pattern. This is super great for masculine pages because it has kind of that masculine feel without being too busy. I'm going to mix in some other patterns as well in smaller doses later on, but the notebook paper itself will add a really nice texture to the page, just having it instead of a white plain background. I did rip off the top edge of this paper. Not only do I think that goes along with the notebook theme, but I think that that torn edge is a nice little masculine feature. A lot of the paper punched edges are, they're fairly feminine. There are some notebook ones that are good for a masculine page, but I like the torn look. Black and white photos is also another great way to tone down your project and make it a little more masculine. Sometimes a lot of the colors in the background of a photo might compete with the masculinity of your page, I guess you could say. So making it black and white just cleans all that up and keeps everything a little more tight. I am trimming out the inside of this paper because I do want to use some of that later, and I'm going to just adhere this onto a neutral black background. That also is a bit of a masculine feel. All right, so now that I have that, I'm going to place my photos. I always add some foam tape to the back of my photos to give them a little pop. I'm just going to line these up here, and then I've decided to add in additional patterns through some of the different pattern papers that I hear. Again, these are all by Close to My Heart. This is part of one of their mix-ins that they have that match with some of their newer collections. And I'm actually just going to cut many of these patterns down into some smaller strips. So if I wanted to add other colors, this would be a good opportunity. I try to vary the different patterns that I use, and I am trying to fit in more masculine patterns. Things like stripes and simple dots are really great, but I'm also going to add in some more feminine thought of patterns in a more neutral color. So this one here has flowers on it, which is typically thought of as feminine, but I'm using it in that craft, that light brown color, so that will add more to the masculine feel on this page. I'm just trimming everything down. I initially was going to cut all the strips to one side, but decided I'm just going to lie them out in no measured manner along the area here on my page, the middle section, just trying to vary out the different patterns and colors. I do have both sides I could use, so I'm trying to make use of that. And then I'm going to give these paper strips a bit of a haircut with my scissors, just, randomly, as you can see, not measuring, staggering the ends of the strips. So once I have those all cut, I'm going to tack them in place with a little bit of tape runner, and then I am going to go ahead and run that through my sewing machine. I actually do think sewing adds a nice masculine texture as well to the page. So I am going to add just a line of sewing down some of these strips just to give that a little bit extra adherence as well as the textural piece. I am going to bunch these up slightly more than I first intended, and that's because I really want to have a main grouping there in the middle of the project. Okay, so you can see that I have stitched down the rows, and now I'm ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and get my photos placed where I want them on the page. I'm trying to leave some room as well for my title. And so I'm just going to use a ruler here to line up my top two photos so that I know I'm not going to have a bit of a wonky title when I'm done. So I'm just going to line these up real nicely. And there I go. I have some extra strips I will use on another project as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and just add some black ink. I really feel like adding a little light black ink splatters also helps add to that kind of masculine feel. If you don't have ink, there are a lot of great stamps out there that will provide you with the same kind of look and a lot less mess, to be quite honest. But I use these inks a lot. If you've watched my videos, you'll know that. And so it adds a nice feel. I am going to cut apart some of these tags. I think tags and labels and icons of that nature are really great to include in a more masculine page. They're typically not something, that I think of as a masculine thing. It's pretty neutral, but I feel like adding in tags with different colors and patterns is another great way to add to that masculine feel on your page without it being, too much. And I love adding twine onto a page about one of my boys because I feel like the twine just has that natural woodsy feel to it, I guess you could say, which is typically thought of as masculine, even though it's completely a feminine thing too. But I am going to add the twine into the top hole of my tag there, and I do feel like that adds a little bit more to the overall feel of this layout. I'm going to pop this up with some foam adhesive, stick a little dot of glue behind my twine to keep it in place, and then I'm going to layer those tags together just so I can have a bit of a layered look underneath that long photo there on the left hand side. Once I get everything trimmed down, I will stick it in place. The great part about a sheet of cut-aparts like this is you can really change them up. I've added a hole, you can leave the hole, you can use them together like pattern paper or cut them apart on multiple projects. And this is another great way to add in more pops of color if you wanted to, or even different patterns of paper as well, is to use smaller tags like this to layer in your photos. I'm going to trim this one down just a little bit. It's just a little too long for where I want it to place, and that will fit nicely in there. All right, so now I'm going to figure out what sort of title I'm going to put on my page. I'm trying to decide also what other embellishments I might be able to use. I found this striped edge left over from the pattern paper, and I thought I'll just tear that down slightly smaller just to get rid of so much of that black top section. I'm also going to trim down one of these labels here so I can add the date later on. I'm going to add that to the bottom corner of my photo, and I'm added a staple to that label, and the metal actually is obviously a really good masculine touch to the page. I'm going to use a variety of different chipboard letters here, matching in with the colors of my project. So I have these really great neutral craft letters. They almost look like they're hand printed. I kind of love that. And then I'm mixing in that scripted hello, which is actually from a more feminine collection, I guess you could say, from Pebbles. Sorry, A Simple Stories, not Pebbles. My apologies. But it fits in really well with that other graphic typed letter, you could say. So it fits in quite nicely. I'm going to add that along the top of the page. And now I know I want to add a few different embellishments. And so I'm going to dig a bit into my archives for some things. I really want to use some things I've been saving. I love these canvas kind of chipboard elements from Simple Stories. So I'm going to use foam adhesive behind them. I wanted to use this gold paper clip. I thought that would be really great, but it just didn't fit in with the size of my photos. So I decided just to keep doing a few more of these canvas kind of chipboard ephemera. So I have a heart, I have a star, arrows are always great. These are all great icons to use for masculine photos. It's really the fact that it's in a more neutral palette, I think, that helps make it keep a little masculine. And I'm even going to add in some glitter stars. And yes, you absolutely can add glitter to a masculine project. I mean, obviously you probably might not want to glitter everything unless it's like something super themed with what you're doing, but I'm adding in some glitter stars because I think that sparkle adds a lot to the project. So now I'm just trying to finish off to see if I have any more last minute elements I want to add. I found this wood veneer kind of arrow I thought of using. I decided to pass on that one. But then I found these label stickers that have a bit of a sentiment, and they're again in a neutral green color, which goes along with my color palette on the page. So I'm going to add that to the bottom of my photos. And then I found these gold puffy heart stickers from crepe paper that I am going to add just in a couple different areas here beside the title, and just to embellish my tag slightly. And I think that's this one all together. So here are some close-ups of the final project. You can see how that mix of embellishments with the different patterns really adds to the masculine feel of the project. Obviously, you don't need to do everything masculine just because you're using pictures of a male subject. You could absolutely embrace pinks and purples and flowers. But I thought it would be fun to share a few tips, and I hope you've enjoyed them. I'll see you again next month. Bye-bye.